to Tacton Summit. This is the second episode in this Tacton Summit we have this fall. And those of you who missed the first one on Tuesday, then there is an opportunity to listen in to our on-demand version. But we will also do a short recap to put this event in a context because the first day was more about trends and what we are heading towards. And today we will have more of hands-on operational experience from two of our customers from Alfa, Laval and Tetra Pak. But before we go into the agenda, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Susanne Wahlström. I'm CMO at Tacton. And for those of you who don't know about Tacton, we are trying to simplify sales for manufacturers around the world. And this is one reason why we focus also on trying to understand our customers' behavior and why they actually put higher expectations on the customer experience and why it seems to be so important for manufacturers right now. So how can we help together, and where are we heading? That is the agenda. So for those of you who don't know where Tacton operates, we are a software as a service company, and we are headquartered in Stockholm and Chicago. We have users and customers all around the world, and today you will meet two of them. And just so you understand when we are referring to our customer and the experience we have from our customers' journey, we have users from globally. This is a snapshot from last week's usage, 65,000 users of Tacton CPQ. At this point, we took this. We focus on complex manufacturing because our strength is to configure the most complex solutions. So these are some sub-industries that we will talk more about today. And the customers we meet, Tetra Pak and Alfa Laval, they come from production line and the fluid processing here in this scheme. So today's agenda is we will do a short wrap-up from the Tuesday event, just so you understand where we come from into this second episode. And then we will go into the main priority for today's event to meet Hans Troiza from Alfa Laval and Bengt Andersson, Tetra Pak. They are true gurus and have lots of operational insight from the day-to-day business of how to digitalize the buyer experience manufacturers are facing today, the new expectations and the requirements. In the end, we will wrap up in a panel, and we really appreciate if you ask questions in the chat. You can put them there. We will pick them up in the end. So, to wrap up, I will introduce my colleague Nils Olsson, who also attended the event on Tuesday. He has extensive experience from manufacturing, from Tetra Pak as well, but also from the software industry. And I would like his help to wrap up and comment on what we heard from the first day of the Tacton Summit. So welcome here, Nils.
Thank you very much, Susanne.
So, what we spoke about was a lot about the trends in manufacturing. And this picture summarizes the trends we are seeing from research we have done. We have looked into research from researchers, management consultants, our customers and partners. And of course, we know that efficiency, quality and revenue is always key for manufacturing. But we also see some other things coming in that manufacturers must take into account.
Absolutely. I mean, when it comes to the trends in the market, it's very clear that there's lots of things going on. Everything from evolving value chains where you're selling to different parts of the total value chain, perhaps jumping steps upstream or downstream as well in total. So it really is a dynamic situation out there. Of course, the disruption that we've seen through the pandemic, that we've seen with supply chain issues over the past, let's say, 6 to 8 months as well, all in total means that it's harder to navigate a profitable sales cycle. And then, of course, to the point of today, the power of customer experience, the fact that customers are putting increasing demands on how they want to interact with their suppliers.
And we heard on Tuesday that this has, of course, accelerated during the COVID, where we actually got more digitalized. And so this is what we will hear more about today. But also, this is the focus of today's event. But I also want to mention to the left, the sustainability and buy as a service. That is like a macroeconomic trend, not only for manufacturing, but that also affects manufacturers.
Absolutely. When it comes to sustainability, we're seeing increasing legislation, but also public opinion that's really pushing companies to embrace capabilities in that area. And I think the easiest way to put it, yes, there is a certain degree of compliance that needs to be achieved. But if you do it right, there's actually a possibility of gaining a competitive edge in the market as well. When it comes to selling as a service, outcome-based selling, we're seeing that being a hot topic in many companies, still to be embraced by many. But those that are working in that direction are seeing some tremendous benefits from it.
So preparing for that is key. Yeah? So if we look into the buyer's requirements, we can see some data from our own surveys that manufacturers are struggling to be efficient in selling. So that is still hard, and specifically when it's highly customized products. And we also see from our own surveys that 45% of the manufacturers believe that they should improve the revenue or protect the revenue if customer experience is improved.
Absolutely.
But here we also see that many are working on it to get closer to customers and understand the buyer behavior more. But still, this is what Gartner just showed us. 77% of B2B buyers, specifically in complex product, still believe the latest buy was a bit difficult.
Yes. I think it's a part of the explanation behind this is that it's an evolution. It's a constantly evolving expectation in the marketplace, coupled with increasing capabilities that are coming from tools that are available and different means of communicating with your customers. But of course, what it also means is that if 77% of customers believe the buying experience was difficult, there is a great possibility to stand out in the market by embracing capabilities in this field.
And this is what we will learn more about from our customers today. So also going back to the sustainability, that is something very important to actually meet the customer experience going forward. And if you look at this matrix from Bengt company, they have done some research to see how prepared different industries are to meet the scope 1 and 2 and 3 in the sustainability field. And scope 1 and 2 is your internal processes to meet sustainability requirement of being compliant, reduce carbon footprint. And then scope 3 is the demand you put on your suppliers or your customers. So if you look at that x-axis, you can see that manufacturing, they are a little bit behind, but their customers who probably will put demand on their suppliers, they are a little bit ahead. How will this actually come together if you should meet customer experience?
Yeah, I think this is a very clear indication again that the market is pulling in a certain direction. When it comes to meeting the requirements of your customers, that will of course be key to being successful in the marketplace. And what it also means, and it's clear from the study here, right, is that there will be increasing pressure that will benefit those that are early out of the gate preparing to handle it.
So what we spoke about on Tuesday is that we actually must help buyers to take better and sustainable buying decision and not wait for them, but try to push it out.
Exactly.
So this is a slide from our speaker on Tuesday, Bernd Hirschler, and I show it because this shows that if those of you who perhaps are more you know how the business to consumer funnel works. This is very similar. And what Bengt showed was that we are coming closer and closer to the consumer behavior. You are doing search, you want to know about things before you meet a salesperson. So this is something we will hear more about today also from Tetra Pak and Alfa Laval, how this model actually come into play into the daily operations.
Exactly.
And lastly, we spoke about visualization on the Tuesday event. It was both very much hands-on, how it actually helps to support the buyer journey when you are working with the CPQ tool that configure, create a price and a quote, and how visualization actually helps here. But it was also a bit future-oriented.
Yeah, it was quite exciting, if I may put it myself. Yeah. We were talking about capabilities that perhaps are a few years into the future, but at the same time provide amazing possibilities, again, to stand out, to meet customers in the way they want to be met.
We talk about metaverse, if it will happen or not, but it's interesting to embrace what consumers might be used to and the expectations we actually can see also in more complex buying processes.
Absolutely.
So again, this was a short recap from Tuesday. And if you are interested to learn more about the info from that, go to our webpage, tacton.com, and under resources, you will find the webinars from Tuesday. Thank you very much, Nils.
Thanks, Susanne.
Now it's time to actually kick off the agenda and listen to the two speakers that you probably are waiting for. So first, we have Hans Troiza from Alfa Laval joining us. And Hans is like an evangelist for online decision making, supporting buyers in the best way according to their needs and not the supplier's needs. Welcome here.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for that modest introduction.
Yeah, so, and you want to use that?
I'm a little bit old-fashioned, so I will not use the remote control. Thank you for letting me be here for a couple of minutes and talking about a little bit what Alfa Laval is doing in this area. Thank you for your time. Hopefully, I will meet many of your expectations. My name is, as Susanne said, Hans Troiza. I'm working for Alfa Laval. I'm responsible for our digital customer journey, as we call it. It's sort of end-to-end from starting with perhaps social commerce, public webs, local webs, and also commerce tools and our ownership experience. Everything that can be done in an online world, so to say. And I will talk a little bit about that and how we try to connect the configuration part into that. I have to warn you though, configuration is not my specialty. So hopefully there are someone from Alfa Laval here, so they will fiercely, most probably educate me later if I come with some arrow statements. So no worries there, I will learn. So I will talk a little bit, of course, about probably the best company in the world, Alfa Laval, a couple of slides. And then I will take you through a couple of journeys, so to say, where we see customers having sort of demand to interact with us online. It's a little bit about the product guide and also how we work with our online configuration. And then I will talk a little bit about hybrid selling. What is that from our perspective? I will come back to. And a little bit also around the corner where we have done some tests and we'll do some experiences as well. So I will hopefully you will learn something, or at least I will create some curiosity about what we're doing. So, what is Alfa Laval then? I mean, a company with this purpose, who wouldn't want to work there, right? We exist to accelerate the success of our customers, people, and the planet. I mean, that's what we actually do. And to be honest, I think we're doing that too. That's why I have stayed at Alfa Laval so long. I will not tell you how long, though. We have 3 business divisions focusing a little bit in different areas. We have an energy division. You may understand what that is about, but they have a range of different industries. They're focusing on HVAC, sort of indoor climate, we can put it, oil and gas, chemicals, biofuels, of course. And more, everything has a focus on energy efficiency, of course, sustainability and clean tech. That is sort of we're gradually going into. So even if we are in sort of dirty industries, we're trying to improve them even as well. And then we have a food and water division. They have a lot of when it comes to in areas of food and also water treatment. And I think they're also going more and more into plant-based food and things like that. That's also need to come into play more and more to decrease the carbon footprint and so on and so forth. And then we have a marine division. And you can say, well, what about boats then? Of course, they also have to be more of a environmentally responsible. For instance, when they're changing from the Atlantic to another ocean, you need to clean the ballast tanks and things like that. You also need to do a lot of things with the fuel, for instance. What we also have is helping them routing. Of course, a boat that can go on a sea where it's less waves and in a choppy sea, they of course save more energy and less fuels. There are a lot of things there as well. And of course, we have a division working with manufacturing and distribution, and we also have a large sales division. We have, I think, sales companies in some 80 countries, and we have representatives in another 40 to 60 countries. So I can truly say we are a global company. So what are our key technologies? I will start with the first one is the heat exchanger or heat transfer. Is of course you have a warm side and a hot side, and you exchange energy in a smart way. And there we have different types of heat exchangers. I will not go into the different ones right now. But the next key technology, if I wake most people up in the middle of the night and say Alfa Laval, they will most probably come to separators, because it's where it started actually in the middle of the end of the 1800s somewhere. And of course we have high-speed separators, which was the one from Gustav de Laval, and then we have decanters rotating a little bit slower, and then we also have what we call filtration membranes. So it's basically the size of what should be separated from each other. And taking the membranes, the smallest parts, these molecules, I would say, and high-speed separators in between, and decanters more size of shows and things like that. And then, of course, we are transporting fluids in a smart way and control them as well with pumps, valves, and so on. Those are our three key technologies. And I think also what is said about this is customer, okay, they can buy one heat exchanger, but sometimes they're buying a combination of all three. This is also what makes the strength of a company, that we can combine this in a smart way. And then I come to my last slide about Alfa Laval. It's, we are serving many, many industries. And most probably on your way to work today, or on your way home, or even at work, you're most probably being confronted with an Alfa Laval product that can basically promise that. But you don't see them because we are a little bit in behind. And I think also this is a fascination with the company. Yeah, we are developing new products, but also our sales force and our engineers and technicians, they always find new questions to find an answer upon with the products we're having. And therefore also the number of industries and applications are constantly increasing. We can use our products or a combination of them. Okay, that's about Alfa Laval. Yeah, I have some time still to talk about what I'm supposed to do also. That's nice. So I will start with, okay, I will not drink the microphone either. Cool. We talk about two things first, which I think we have been working with for a longer time. It's the configurator to configure to basket, I call it. I will show you what that is. And then we have a product guide. And the configurator plays a role in both of those customer journeys, but slightly different. Let's start with configure to basket. If I go back, Alfa Laval has been working with e-business since, depending on who you ask, 98 or 99. So let's say 99 then. And that's what we have done. And I don't know exactly when we added our first online configurator there, but then we did a real big work in 2011, 2012, where we said our partners, distributors, should be self-sufficient when it comes to configure products, order them, and we should also bank efficiency. So when they have configured a product, they should add it to a basket, send them to us, and it should appear basically ideally when it's supposed to be produced in a manufacturing site. That was the target here, and we started this journey somewhere in 2011, 2012, where we launched this for partners. That is actually very much used today and very appreciated. So what do I mean with configure? Yeah, you start basically, now I'm perhaps a little bit on thin ice, but I usually say our way of configurating is something you do in 2 steps. Let's say you wake up in the morning and you want to buy a car, but you have no clue which brand whatsoever. You only know we are 5 people in the family. We are driving in the forest all the time. We also like to drive very fast. You have a couple of parameters, you know, and you put them in. And then you come to a certain number of suggestions, and you continue with it. And then you perhaps select a Volvo, and then you continue with the mechanical configuration, so to say. And that is what they do in their connections, accessories, or whatever in our world. And in the end, hopefully, in a very short lead time, you will get the heat exchanger at your doorstep. That sort of fits your process demands. This is what has been very appreciated from our partners, distributors, and other type of actors that are utilizing this tool. But of course, doing like this, you need a lot of knowledge and about your processes, about parameters, how you play around, how you optimize. So there was also a question from what we saw actually in somewhere 2015, 2016, was that many sales companies, they have done a standard range of heat exchangers or other products. And of course, they have done it in the most spread tool, Excel. They send it out to customers so they could select and things like that. And another question we need to respond to was that many of our partners, they stopped configuring smaller products with less margin on. And it basically because it took too long time for them. So they wanted a way for their customers to select them themselves. So we started with a very easy product guide, as we call it. Basically try to put it in the context of the users. For instance, if I'm interested in pool heating, Alfa Laval should already know something of pool heating, so they don't start with the whole universe, as you do in our sort of configurator that we give to our partners. And they can say, okay, I click on pool heating, for instance. I set a couple of dimensions that I know about. I wanted to have a gasket heat exchanger, the temperature program or whatever. And then I don't come into an exact product, but at least I have something that is not the whole universe. And I can look at it and I can ask for request for quote. And then, or even in some countries, they even order it. So some countries decided that their customers can order it. And we see some business also, not that much. And why is that then? I will talk about that a little bit later. But this is how we see it. So the configurator in the previous case was basically that you have a very, very skilled user doing the configuration, optimize it for a customer. Here you basically have skilled salespeople and business units people. They do a range of products that fits pool heating in a country. So some customers or customers to be can select from it. So the configurator plays a vital part in both of those scenarios. But it's basically very advanced, not that skilled people. They know more what kind of application they would like to fix a problem for. So what we also see, we have run some tests in some countries, what we call hybrid selling. So we guide the customer. Here we'd like to basically fetch two things, because we have seen in some, we have done some investigations and surveys and things like that. We have asked, what do you want to order online from Alfa Laval? What are you comfortable with? And most companies are saying, we are not comfortable in deciding what kind of product we need for our service or application. There we need your help. But we are more interested in order spare parts, services, and those kind of things. So the question is, can we combine that? Of course, our sales force, they're really skilled. They create confidence and things like that. This is the correct product for you. But we also would like to have an efficiency where we can catch in the commerce world. So we created a concept we call hybrid selling. We are not alone in this. Many companies are looking into this right now. But that is basically that the sales force, they have a customer-facing interaction tool. So you can call it a collaboration platform if you want to call it like that. And they can prepare, they can share documents, they can share quotes, they can have questions, they can have drawings, all the kind of things. And basically what they're doing, they're preparing a basket. So in the end, when a customer is happy, they can order the product and suddenly we have created an online awareness for them. Perhaps they can continue work there because there they can see the spare parts, they can see services, can even have a digital unboxing experience. Because sometimes when they receive a product, all the documentations perhaps go in different directions and will never be found again. But here is a place where it always can be found. And here we also have the opportunity to drive business for them. Of course, we can give them upgrades. They can also have, if they would like to buy another product in the same type, they can reorder it or we can upgrade it and so on and so forth. So this is a little bit about what we have sort of tested now in some countries, and some early findings of it was early findings. So that's a little bit of a disclaimer here, of course, is what we can see it's have become an attractive way of presenting and also collaborating with customers. What is also good here, actually, if you're already devious like me, working on a web tools, is that we can see if they're actually interested in the material we are sending the customer. So if a sales guy has 4 customers to work with, and one of them has not even touched the documents, perhaps he will focus on the 3 others, where he should spend his time. So it can also reduce a couple of waste activities in the sales process. Don't have to chase that customer the first thing in the morning, perhaps. And of course, you have the right content. You can see versions and everything like that. And the customer has it available as well. And also, if we let him, the customer can also share the information in his or her organization. And of course, we can see that too, which is really good. Then, of course, we would like to connect this if it's become successful, which I think will make it too, perhaps, with other tools in our company, like CRM systems and sales system. Because, of course, we would like the customer to push the buy button when we have prepared a card for him or her, and then continue to buy services and other things as well. Oops, time is flying. Sorry. We also see, by doing this, we have seen another thing that I forgot to say, actually, is there is some investigations done, I think it was a couple of years now, but we can also see that people who buy our products, they have an average age of some 35, 36 years, but they have this average age for the last 20 years, which also we need to follow. Well, what kind of experience do they expect from us nowadays? We can't have the same user experience as we had 2000 as we have now. Because nowadays, I mean, if you think a little bit, they are by the end of the 80s, 90s, they're born now, the purchases. So they have totally different expectations. So I think this might be a way, and also for our sales force to have cool tools. I don't know. That's it. So the last thing, now we're talking about the self-sufficient channel, the sort of simple product catalog selection, and sort of where we have our skilled sales force. Isn't there anything in between? Yes, of course, there is a need for that too. And there we're trying to find different ways. We are trying in different corners how to perhaps limit the possibilities of configuration, make it easier, less dimensions and so on. So 2 quick things I would like to go through here. One is, of course, which when you read the feedback from our different tools from customers, which if you have a hard time sleeping, is quite interesting to read in the nights. Something good comes out there. And one pattern I can see, they like the product catalog, but then they would like to do something more. So they would basically like to do it a little bit more special, but they start with it. So that's something perhaps we should look into one way or the other. And hopefully that become a heat exchanger as well in the end at the doorstep. And we also try, which is for Alfa is quite interesting. We are utilizing artificial intelligence to help you also to find way. And perhaps there you also start with something. I am in a dairy. I have a dairy. I want to do something. I have a map. Okay, that's where the position is, where Alfa Laval has a product that might fit you. Utilizing it, but how can we build in artificial intelligence based on our experience to let the user just use a couple of parameters which they should know if they work in a dairy, for instance. And hopefully they can do some extra job with the mechanical configuration, and off they go. And they have a product. So those are sort of 3 main flows or journeys that we see. And something we're working with for a long time, something we're scratching on will be around the corner, and something of this will also most probably surface in the coming years as well. But as I say, the foundation is that we have the correct product, we utilize the configurator in the back end, but the way we show it for the customer in the journey can differ a little bit. Basically, that was my last slide, I think. So thank you for the time.
Thank you very much, Hans. Very interesting to see how you have applied technology, and especially for us, it's interesting to see the CPQ technology in action. So you presented 3 different buyer journeys, so to say. How do you, I mean, this is a perfect example of meeting customers with different skill set and perhaps different products. Do you think this is what you will prepare for becoming even better going forward, or will we see even new paths?
Yeah, I think some of them here I will most probably put some of my last cents on. What's around the corner? I think we also thrive on customer feedback. Because I think we would like to meet more customers and give our products to more customers, because I think we, as I said, one of the first slides, we really help you to save the world with our products. Of course, then more people should be able to buy them and use them. But we also have to secure that we keep the quality so they really fit. So that is always a back and forth that you have to moderate, of course. But if you ask me, I think we can have people from different knowledge level select our products, because I think we can't just hire more and more salesmen either. That will kill our profit as well. So we need to reach out to more people. And I think those 3 ways you're seeing here is perhaps some of them will materialize as hopefully good success.
And as you said, I mean, the buyers, they are changing expectations on digitalization, but so do probably salespeople.
Yes, yeah. So they also do. They also would like to have cool tools to show. They should be accessible via phones or iPads or whatever things. And as I mentioned a little bit before to you, what is around the corner, I don't know. But I mean, what everything is talking about now and investing a lot of money is, of course, metaverse. Or what would that be in virtual reality to configure to see where products fit? I don't know.
Do you believe in metaverse?
I mean, a lot of companies are investing a lot of money in it, but I think Alfa is sometimes a little bit, will come a little bit later, but we will do it better.
And again, if you are curious on metaverse and how it actually can be integrated with CPQ in a visionary way of thinking, go to the first session of Tacton Summit and listen to Marco Lang. He will explain his thoughts on this. Thank you very much, Hans.
Thank you very much.
We will meet later in the panel. And if you have any question to Hans, share them in the chat and we will pick up on them later.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now it's time to listen to our second guest here and a customer of ours, Bengt Andersson from Tetra Pak. And Bengt has also lots of experience from the manufacturing industry, and he is also the one who is managing the CPQ solution at Tetra Pak. CPQ stands for, welcome Hans, what is CPQ standing for?
Bengt, yes, but yes.
Bengt, sorry.
CPQ stands for Configure Price Quote.
Yeah, so let's see how CPQ actually helps to meet buyers' experience. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we start with a click to the next button. So, I mean, if you look at CPQ, I mean, I will talk a little bit about our journey, how we come into working with CPQ and going forward on how it actually fits in the evolution of the company. And with that one, we can say, I mean, Tetra Pak is a company which operates in 3 areas. We do processing, which is a lot of taking the food from the raw material until it comes to ready production. And then we do packaging, where we're actually putting it on the table of the people behind at your breakfast table and lunch table. And then we, of course, have the services, which is following up and making sure that we have quality throughout the sales process and operational product life cycle of equipment we put in place at different customers. And with that one, we can say, I mean, we have a history going back where we have been working many, many years as a company. We have developed a lot of products, and all these products needs to be understood and managed to be able to sell them from a quality point of view, as well as we're having the information behind the scene to make sure that we are communicating the same way. And what we saw coming up sometimes around 2000, that, you know, our catalog of product is growing so fast that we no longer can keep track of it. And as this information overflow is becoming difficult, we start hiring more people. It's more teams working with the products. We have specialist teams. However, we are failing to really delivering the product proposition for all the products and the complete solution as a whole. And that drives us into actually making a choice of bringing them into a configurator, where we started with product catalog. And this product catalog has evolved, and around 2016, we do a next big step when we're changing from having a product catalog to really going into CPQ. And what we then see coming into CPQ as such, we see that, you know, we're really trying to expedite and accelerate the selling. I mean, how can we get to meet the customer needs? Because, I mean, very often in the past, we were focusing on the capabilities of our equipment and our equipment's capabilities of telling the customer what to buy and why to buy it. That hasn't really worked in the later years, because our buyers are becoming more and more interested in what they want to produce with their packages. And when we then look at our role of really taking the raw material into the table of the customers, we said, I mean, we need to turn things around and look at the customer needs and look at configurations out of their requirements. So now looking at what is a package you would like to have, what is the speed of the machines, what is the product you're using, and how would you like it to be distributed on the chain. So these are key inputs to our configurations. And with that one as well, we saw that other parties, that when we are having very knowledgeable customers of what they would like to do, they also want to make sure that we get the same information as we have. And that means we are harmonizing the product information in a way where we see that no, it is not only to tell them these are the specification, these are the function, but it's actually operational data which has to be the same everywhere. Because our customers no longer are only local suppliers and producers, they're actually global producers. And they're comparing offerings from different parts of Earth, and they expect to have the same information. And that drives us to the data behind the scene. The single source of truth. How do we have master data behind it to support the configurations, to making sure that regardless of where you are, you will get the right information. And then we saw that as we are providing all this information to our customers, we're leaving the people inside behind. And this is a new avenue. We see that we need to be able to not only look at configuration and pricing and quoting to the customers, but also enabling to have our internal people having the same information available in an easy, quick way. And that's why we have a different way of a configurator being used. So one is a configuration for selling, one is configuration for product information internally. But it's the same engine behind the scene, it's the same data driving it, and it's the same product information being communicated through the different channels. If we then take it on how we do it, because when we look at customers, it's not important to get it 100% right the first time, but be able to say, what are the right solutions? So we're looking at configurations in 2 steps, where we in the first steps look at what are the key requirements the customer is after? How is it really going to determine what is the right solution for what it's looking for? Because very often we're looking at a broad range. As you say, when you buy a car, there's different models, but when you start looking at your specific requirements, it becomes, what is the flow? What is the package size? What is the product you have? And how do you want to distribute it? Through building up in the first step in the configuration to look at the big picture and getting the alignment with the customer to, don't come out with five PowerPoints and tell us to buy, but look at what we can do for you and select the ones which you want to go into more details. That first configuration will also give you the opportunity to get the right price within the 10% ranges. When we come to a budget estimate, we give a customer, say, this is a solution which you are fit for the purpose you told me you have. Are they still valid? Can you please confirm them? As they confirm, they say, yes, this is the right technical solution. We go into the second stage where we start looking at the firm quotation, when we connected a product for a specific operations at the customer site, not the general production, but the specific configured solutions. That's when we're going to select the different variants and configurations which are linked to the specific needs the engineering department, how the production department has, and also the commercial department has for how they would like to put the product on the table. And that becomes the detailed specification, which is a ready-to-order solution for these specific and unique customers. And then once we have that one in place, we see that now we have an offer, we have an agreement with the customer that he has selected what is important to him, and we have a product which is meeting the requirements which I have. And then we saw that the document is really important, that it corresponds exactly to where we are. And this is where we're also tailoring the quotation to look exactly the same everywhere in the world. And we did that one. We realized that coming from a history of many markets, many ideas of how to communicate, and also many of the products were not really specified the same way everywhere because people had put their own touch on it. So we drove with this new configurator and said, we're going to have one template globally. We're going to have one standard. We're going to have the same 5 sections going out. We're going to have a product information. We're going to have a pricing section. We're going to have a clarification of scope, and we're going to have roles and responsibilities, and of course the terms and conditions going with them. So with that one, we have now harmonized globally. This is what it's going to look like. Are we happy everywhere? Not yet, but we are getting there. It's a matter of also change journey to get an acceptance that, this is how we operate one way. We have some flexibility in some areas, but we have a common standard everywhere going forward. And we also saw that when we are looking for this one way of harmonizing a documentation, it becomes important to look at the product information going with it. We support 17 languages globally, and that's great. But also we saw here that, when we do translations in local areas, there are some local twists to it. We don't get the full product proposition with us. And by doing this as centralized in a product information management system, this is really driving consistency, quality, accuracy, and it's getting support going forward. And that means now we have one way of a configurator with the same IDs. We're having the product information, the variants are coming out right, and we have customers getting the same documentation everywhere. Regardless if you're doing it in Europe, Africa, or Asia, doesn't matter. It's the same. So this is where we're looking into how the customer works and operates. If we then say as well, I mean, we saw that now when we have done all these on very good, we have customers which are very oriented in what our products are delivering, how it's working and operating. And with that one, we saw that, yes, the products the customers gets is more coherent, it's more equal. And with it, they're coming back with questions, our salespeople. Our salespeople didn't have the same information all of a sudden. So what we see then is that we need to be able to provide the same information internally as we have externally. So we started to say we want a web application to go with it. And with that one, we're also connecting the information. So dynamically, a customer which is out at the site, when the salesperson or the engineer is out at the site, they will see that, they have the same information available in their pocket on a device. I mean, if it's a mobile phone or if it's on a computer, it is sitting there with them. So that is working very well. And that also means that we can now see that we can fit and find the information the same the customer has. But also we start to be able to say now, when we're providing the product information to the customers, we can start putting in information which is related to technical data. We have product data sheets. We have possibilities to connect to other systems because we're seeing that we have a chain of tools which are working together and operating as one. And that means that now we can actually be providing an interface where we are supporting the customer instead of asking questions. And everyone, regardless if it's an engineer or a salesperson, they supply the same information. So this is where we see the benefit of having a CPQ, which is really the sales tool, and a product proposition and product catalog, which is all internal. And that brings together the whole sales panel towards us. Moving forward, we can see that, what is it really that we're trying to achieve? We have a very complex portfolio. We have over 100 products which we're trying to sell of different configurations, different sizes, different products, and different needs. And these needs are continuously growing. But what the customers want is simplifications, being informed when they're coming to us and making sure that, we're not pushing things onto them, but they're understanding what they're getting. So we're solving their problem based on their requirements. What we're also seeing is, since we have now an integrated sales journey, both in CRM and CPQ, we can see that, we are focusing on the right things. We know which quotations are updated. We know which deals are active and hot. And we have two parts where we see in the CPQ, we're very much driving the technical part, the engineering part, the technical approvals, while in the CRM part, we're driving the financial evaluation, the financial cost analysis. And also that's why we start to managing the whole sales process from a lead coming into Tetra Pak and to a quotation, a firm quote, and a contract going out to customers. And it's going in a harmonized way, which is transparent and being able to be reported on. And what we also start seeing is that, in the past, we used to have a sales department and we had an engineering department, and we always have conflict on what is happening and who is right and what we prioritize. Because if people come and scream and they're working one tool, they don't see what is going on the other side. So by opening up and really integrating the sales journey, integrating the selection of products, and thereby enabling to make sure that, we are working as one team, regardless if it's processing, packaging, or service, we're seeing that it's getting smoother. It's still a long way to go, but it's a start of a journey where the CPQ and the CRM and the sales teams has a common view of the activity, what is going on, and the sales configurations going out there. And this is, of course, a collaboration which are driving the speed to allow us to do an effective business going forward. So if we then see, this is really then how we will allow us to go forward and committing to make food safe and available everywhere. Because, as we have a configurator with the activities in place to make sure that all the solutions we provide are supporting the functionality and the quality which is required from the customers, that is delivering the end product, which makes us delivering on the promise to us, our customers as a whole. So I think I was a little bit quick there.
Thank you very much, Bengt. Very interesting. And you have been with Tetra Pak for many years, and you have seen this product portfolio developing and increasing. Is this the biggest shift in what you have experienced, and how does the market affect by this?
I think, if you look at what we go back to, yes, I've been a long time and we've seen a lot of parts, and being both working in engineering and marketing and sales, you see that, a big change is coming on because, it used to be a lot of relations. People trust you what you're doing and delivering on. So, relations has been very paramount together with an excellent product, of course. Mm-hmm. But what we're seeing now is that, customers getting better orientation. They're starting to comparing your offer, and it's important to have data to support what you are delivering. Mm-hmm. It's going from a relations-based to data-driven. We see very much a push for understanding the product, driving the product, and also making sure committing on the results and outcome. And that can only be done by data.
When should you have the accessibility to data, do you think, in the buyer process?
It starts from the first initial look. I mean, people are looking at what they would like to have. I mean, already when you said, I mean, I would like to provide a solution on the table for the customer if it's going to be milk or juice, that's when the data journey starts. But it really starts to become really important at the stage of when you're coming into the buying process of committing. The customers commit to what they would like to do, you start committing what you can deliver. And that's when the data exchange starts taking place.
And this goes, of course, both for the buyer and the salespersons to have the right information at hand.
Absolutely. I mean, we're seeing that as well. I mean, the supporting documentation is there, right? I mean, already at the initial stage when you do budget estimate, customers wants to see what am I getting? What are the performance? What is the expected outcome? And when you're coming into the firm quotation, I mean, then people are saying, what is it that I have to provide to get that performance? What are the utilities? What are the operations? What are the key information which is required? And also, what am I going to do when I deliver and what am I going to receive when I buy things?
And your promise to protect what's good, of course, that needs knowledge from your side also. What is the best solution for different customers?
I mean, this is a very open question.
Yeah.
And I mean, my guess is as good as yours. But what we're seeing, I mean, we need to have people which are able to bring out the facts on the table and drive it effectively. And also the people who builds a relation to make sure we have a trust and credibility. Presence with data is excellent. If you don't have one of them, I don't think it will sell in the future.
No. Thank you very much, Bengt. And now actually we will meet Hans and also Nils in another corner of the studio to wrap up and also have some final questions. And remember, add your questions in the chat and we will try to pick up on them. Thank you again, Bengt. Thanks again for great presentation. Lots of insight and inspiration. Very interesting. And I just want to go back to, we saw the trend analysis that we have conducted in Tacton, and we had different perspective of the challenges for manufacturing industry. One of them are customer experience. And in this event, we state that this must be the first priority for manufacturing industry. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yes, I do. Working with customer feedback basically daily. Also in an online journey, I think customer experience is alpha omega, so to say. It's number one on every step a customer makes. We need to be relevant and we need to have a nice experience.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Bengt?
I fully agree with that one. I mean, the customer is the one who's actually paying the bills. And I mean, the thing is, if you are wasting their time or not taking the efficiency to be prepared when you come up, I mean, they will not attend to you. So I think it's important to have the right attitude, the right product, and the right information. And that is not what I want to provide. This is the questions the customers are asking. So it's important that, I mean, when you're building a portfolio of products, it supports the information and needs which is required based on the customer needs. So the table is turning towards the customers for sure.
And then digging a little bit deeper into this topic, if we now agree it's important, we also stated in the first session of this event that this is to protect the revenue. And if you develop a little bit more on that, do you agree on that? And how should you do that more practically from your perspective?
If you look at protecting your revenue, I mean, you only have so many people. And when we look at, I mean, there is different ways of spending revenues for developing products. Either you develop products or you do a lot of engineer to order. I think we're going away from engineer to order, it's becoming configure to order because it's costly to spend time with salespeople if you can't offer the right thing anyway. So protecting the revenue will be driven by a lot of configure to order with a small ETO part in the end, and it will be also with more efficient communications, making sure that you have communications which is relevant for the products you're doing. So linking the defined product with the customer needs is important. And that means, I mean, doing that one up front together with configurations will deliver speed in the sales process and reducing the needs for entertaining and shuffling information forth and back, which customers seem to have less and less time for.
Hans, any additional thought on this?
No, I agree with Bengt, of course, but I also think from my perspective, I think it's also important that we can be in our customers' context, that we understand if they are in an application or working an application, that we know a lot about it. So they can feel, so they don't have to be scientists on their own. It's a way of reaching out to more. And we also need to think about the internal efficiency, how we work with data, how we work with our internal processes, because as I say, we can't just hire more people to reach more people. We need to do more with the same people we're having. And a configurator is, of course, one part of that equation to reach the internal efficiency, but also be relevant and in the customer's context.
And we also saw in this trend analysis we did the topic evolving value chains, that actually manufacturers get closer to the end customer since the middleman might be cut off. And you are talking very much about your direct customers, how to meet that. How should you describe the customer relations now and going forward?
From an Alfa perspective, I think we will not stop working with our sort of middlemen, distributor partners, influencers like agents and reps and so on and so forth. They are Alfa Omega for us because we need to work with them, but we also need to make them. They can also calculate, so we need to help them to make efficient as well, so they can reach more. And if we can have, most probably some partners work with our competitors as well. So we need to have the best tools and the best solution to support them to find the most customers. Then we will win that war too. So I think that is important. So I don't think we will get rid of our middlemen, I would say. But a way for us to reconnect to the customer is, of course, via service, after sales, new products, and so on and forth. So we can still have a good relationship with our end users, even if we don't do the first sort of sale.
Any thoughts from you on that, on the customer relation, how it develops?
I think customer relations is absolute paramount, but I also see, the shift that the customers being more and more data driven. They would like to have facts on their hands. They would like to drive things through understanding and buying processes. So it's important to have the tools in the place to make sure that we can provide the data, provide the information. And that's where, CPQ comes in very handy. Then I have other part, if you don't have relations, you don't buy anyway, because it's trust. And I see that we typically supply quite big components or solutions, and they need some pat on the back to say, no, we're on the right track, we're with you. So I think, relations is very important, but if you don't have the right products, the value relations are diminishing, right? And it is important that, the journey starts with understanding the customer needs, driving it based on their requirements, not based on what you can supply.
So is it right to say that if you have the technology that supports, then sales can focus on actually building the relation and rely on also support from data-driven support to sell?
Absolutely, I share that one, yes. So data plus relation, that's deal making.
Yeah, and a good product.
And a good product, absolutely. That's the foundation. No product, no business.
So actually turning into Tacton's product, we have Nils here. You have been working at Tacton for many years, but also at Tetra Pak. And now we actually have the opportunity. We have two customers here driving. They are leaders in more digitalized selling, I must say, and also meeting the buyer journey. So if I should put myself in your clothes, then ask, what will come from a CPQ solution perspective to support this?
Well, I think both Bengt and Hans are really outlining the future from Tacton as well. At the end of the day, just like you're describing, customer needs, the way customers want to work with Tetra Pak and Alfa Laval, two world-leading companies in their fields, we will see the same thing from Tacton. So being able to support a customer journey that includes everything from making it easy to find simpler products to doing hybrid selling to doing the type of real solution sales engagement is of course going to be key. And a big part of that is not just the sort of foundation of capabilities in terms of configuration, where of course Tacton is a world leader, but also the things that surrounds it, being able to provide a rich, good user experience to your customers in turn.
So having great customers like you develops us.
That's the way it is.
That's the way it is. So thank you very much for coming to us today and sharing your stories, and also to you, Nils, to recap from Tuesday. And thanks for all of you who listened to this summit. And again, if you want to go back and listen more in depth, it will be found on tacton.com under resources, webinars. Thank you very much for visiting our Tacton Summit.